My why is because I believe every single person deserves to be heard. That every single person has greatness within them.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Master Your Life with Kate McKay. I am so excited to introduce my guest today, Richard Walsh. Welcome, Richard.
Hello, Kate. Thanks for having me. I'm excited for today.
Oh, yeah, we're going to do some play. We already got some good conversation going in our pre-warm-up. So just a little bit about Richard, and then we're going to get right on into it. So Richard's a 30-year seasoned entrepreneur. He's a best-selling author of Escape the Owner Prison, the contractor's new way to scale, regain control, and fast-track growth while loving your life. A speaker and a podcast host. He's a husband and father of 6 children, a U.S. Marine, champion boxer, black belt, and an internationally recognized steel sculptor. Oh, wow. Sounds pretty cool, huh? So I'm going to have to ask you this straight off the bat. Did you have a mentor growing up of what it meant to be a man?
That's I don't think in particular, like, gee, here's my man teacher. I had a father who had an incredible work ethic, some good values, things like that. So I when I look back, I think that's really, really what it was. He really taught me those things. Now, there were some other people in my life, other men who did things. I'm a little older, so back then it was kind of normal. Even like Boy Scouts, right? All my guys were World War II vets, Vietnam vets. I mean, so like we really didn't do scouts. I wasn't in the merit badges. We were like camming up and like taking us in the woods, and we're like a little paramilitary group. It was awesome. We were attacking other scout camps.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it was so awesome. It was just so cool.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is unbelievable. No wonder you became a Marine. Right. That sounds incredible. I think we need to get that back. That's the real Boy Scouts.
Yeah, it was so much fun. We had some great stories. And they had these incredible stories from, again, World War II and Vietnam, and they'd share with us around the fire and stuff. And it was...
So they would talk about it.
Yeah, they would. Yeah.
They would share it.
Yeah.
So you had some men's group going on then. They said a lot of the issues with the post-traumatic stress is from, especially the older men, is that they didn't talk about it. But you actually found that they did talk about it.
Yeah, they really did. I think it was something, I don't know if it was part of being in the wilderness and around the fire and doing stuff. And it was just that, it was that ability to, like, you're kind of broke down in a sense. I mean, they took us and put me and two other guys on a 3-day wilderness survival. They dropped us off on a peninsula, like, we'll see you in 3 days. And we're like 13, 12 years old, like, okay. And we had like a fish hook and some string and a knife, and we made it. We caught one fish in 3 days. We split between the three of us, but we made it. It was that kind of stuff. So it was pretty cool.
That's incredible. Well, the reason why I ask you about the question about the mentors, when I wrote my book, Claim Your Inner Warrior, I interviewed about 30 guys, and the number of men that said they did not have a mentor was depressing to me. In particular, not one of those men really said their dad, aside from like what you said, like a work ethic. So how did you learn to become the man that you are, Richard?
Oh, well, that's a long process. That learning to be a man. It's not like, oh, this year I'm going to take the Learn to Be a Man course, and then I'm going to be good to go. Hopefully I'll pass. I didn't pass anything else in school. Maybe I could pass that. Okay. So it wasn't like that. I think it was, and things I watched on TV was all like the old combat movies. I was drawn to the warrior mindset. There was something about that fighting for good, helping others, protecting others. And I didn't know this for a really long time, Kate. I mean, I just thought, like, I just did it, right? So literally at 13 years old, I went in the Marine Corps recruiter's office. I'm like 6'1", 180 at the time. I'm a big kid. And I'm like, I want to join the Marine Corps. He starts talking to me, and then finally he goes, how old are you? And I go, well, I'm 13, but I'm ready to go. And he goes, he gave me some stickers and stuff, say, you come back as soon as you graduate high school and we'll get you right in. I'm like, oh man.
But you were ready to go.
Ready to go.
And if it was another date and time, you would have gone.
Yeah, how about it?
I mean, they would have put you in war.
Right. And that's kind of what I learned, right? Watching these old movies and people in World War II, a guy 16 going in, whatever. And I'm like, I'll go. So I went when I was 17.
Yeah.
Okay,
so then you went in.
When I was 17.
So
Yeah.
I have a question for you that's really, I think you're going to add some really great information for me personally. And I think the audiences are going to totally dig this insight. And I just have this instinct around it. But so we have this parallel of, in our society about men being weak. And then there's this alternative side that men have to be this other alpha side, right? So it's like almost like there's this dialogue going on of the men the way they used to be. And we need to get back to the way that men used to be. And yet there are some things that have shifted and changed, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Where are we right now? And where do you see us going to build strong men that are warriors with the heart behind the shield?
Yeah, I think, they are far and few between. I think what they have to, there's a great book out, and a guy, you may know of him, John Lovell. He wrote The Warrior Poet Way. Just came out recently, last few months, bestseller, awesome book. And think about warrior poet, because I think this really sums it up. We're all protectors. We got that warrior. I mean, I'm married with 6 kids. I'm a provider. I'm a protector. I'm a priest, right? I'm all these things in my family. What does that take? But I also have to be a romantic. I have to be that poet. I have to have the heart for people. I'm just not out slaying dragons all the time, because that doesn't work either, right? I have to have both. I have to be able to create that love, and have that, raise my children in love, but also all my children. I have 4 boys, 2 girls, to be strong, right? I think earlier we talked about fortitude, mental fortitude, right? Having that, you mentioned in your new book, that agility, right? Agility to move and adapt and overcome. Like, it doesn't matter if you're male or female in that case, but for men especially, they have to attack each day. They have to get up and they have to go after it, right? But they have to have the discernment and the awareness to know what's coming in front of them, right? It's situational awareness in the simplest warrior term. You got to know what's going on around you. And most people don't, because they're in their screens, they're playing their video games all day. These kids and adults, we call it extended adolescence, right? These guys are 30 and they're still playing video games for 3-4 hours. Like, I'll just slap them. I'm like, what are you doing? Like,
Right.
I don't get it. I mean, I played, I think it was the 70s when like Atari came out with Pong, the video game. And boop, 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 boop. That's the last video game I played, Kate.
I
Okay.
liked Pac-Man because you got to eat things.
Right. Well, I didn't even play that game. I was already done.
I was like, let me eat the cherries. That's the,
Right,
it was
yeah,
such a girl game. It was the
yeah,
best. The Pac-Man
right.
was so the girl game. It was
Right.
it was the only one that I actually liked. I never got into video games. I think it's because I had such acute ADHD and I just knew innately that it wasn't good for me. Like, I was like, go do something else. Go climb a tree. Go slay something.
Yeah.
So tell me more about that. I love how you described that. You said that men need to know how to, as far as agility, move, adapt, and overcome. And yet you're also having to have this higher level of discernment and awareness, and particularly situational awareness. How do we bridge the gap from this old World War II version of a man, which is just be a stoic and don't talk about it, and yet you flavored it with this romantic? What are you modeling then for your sons based on that beautiful description, actually?
It's interesting because what you have to do is things that are, now this is odd. So I had a group before I got married. We had a group of guys, about 8 of us. And the name of our little group is called the Bad Habits Society. But it wasn't like, we weren't like doing cocaine or something, but we'd get together at least once a quarter and I'd cook multi-course meals. We drink fine wine. We smoke cigars. Our oldest member was 80, at 80. Plays a piano, man, it's beautiful. Got the penthouse on Lakeshore Drive. It's unbelievable. We're all over the right. But that was romance, in the manly way. Like, we're talking about deep subjects and philosophy, and to go around the table. This would be 8 hours for dinner with courses rolling. I'd bring in the next course. It was because cooking is a performance art, right? It's a performance art. Like, people want to watch and I perform and we do these things. And then same thing, we go out and we have these deep conversations on not just issues, but really about life philosophy, like what we thought, what we did. Like, when you're able to go deep with like 6, 8 guys and you have those kind of conversations, that's amazing. And at the same time, we're climbing mountains, literal mountains, right? We're working out hard, we're training, we're shooting, we have such a balance of people. That's where I go to the opera, I go to the symphony, right? Love that stuff, have for forever. So like we're doing all this stuff. People are like, you guys are odd. I said, yeah, but I'll also pop your head like a zit. Right?
Yeah,
So, I mean,
exactly.
it's
In a
like,
in a heartbeat.
right.
Yeah, that's so interesting. A romance in a manly way. That is pretty gorgeous. That's unbelievable. But it's like the Renaissance warrior.
Yeah, it is. It is. When we had this cabin on the tip of the Keweenaw Peninsula, and you had to go about 7, almost 8 miles in the snow. We pulled a sled with a harness here and snowshoes. Me and buddy would go, and you could get blizzard white out. There's times you might not even make it, right? You think, but you do. And you get this little cabin, you get the fire going. There's no power, no anything, and you're out there. And then you spend 3 days out there. Most of our weight is food and wine that we. So we're out there, and we're making all this stuff. Again, there's that thing. We're just out there, and you're on Lake Superior, and it's freezing cold. We're snowshoeing up the coast, and everything else. And it's that kind of stuff that you do together. You suffer together. Men need to suffer together. Suffering is one of the greatest bond building things in life. When people suffer together, that's why you're combat buddies, right? That's why you're trench buddies. Guys you go to the war with, that friendship, that bond lasts forever because you suffered together. So we wanted to put ourselves in those kind of positions. What can we do that's going to suffer? Okay, we're going to make our way through all the 14ers in Colorado, all the 14,000 foot peaks. So me and a buddy started doing that every year, 4 or 5 a year, making our way through that. And we're first up, first down. We kind of treat it like an athletic event. We weren't just there for the sights. We're first up. We're going to beat everybody else.
Non-negotiable.
So, right. So, but it's just, again, those kind of adventures, putting yourself in those hard tasks, doing hard things all the time and challenging yourself, I think is what builds that connection among
the
men.
grit.
Yeah, the grit.
Do you think you can teach grit?
I do, actually. And this has been confirmed, Kate. Have you read the book Grit by Angela Duckworth?
My favorite.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, I love her study at the beginning about I want you to tell it.
Okay. So first, did you take the test?
Yes.
And what'd you score?
I wasn't as high as I wanted to. It kind of got me a little mad. Because, the thing is, and this is what I would like to say to you, and then I want to get back to the story about grit, is that I never was like anyone around me. Like I came up in a family of 9 children, but I was never like anybody else. And so I wish I knew and understood the tenacity of Kate McKay. Someone fostered that tenacity in me and pushed me harder, because I ended up pushing myself, which I did pretty good. But I would have loved to have the Renaissance babes group, Renaissance warrior group, people pushing me. And that's why I prefer in many ways to work with men, because I can have more assertive conversations around ideas and concepts. And are you doing the best you can do? And in a society that doesn't really like that, particularly from a woman.
Yeah. Even though you didn't, you are who you are because you are who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was like a middle child. I had an older and younger brother. Same thing, though. I was not like them at all. I'm not like most people. So we go back to the grit thing. I'm 97% on the grit scale.
Wow.
Okay. I do stuff, and a friend of mine turned me on the book, a real big entrepreneur friend of mine, real close friends now, but he said, have you read this? And he shot me a text with the I go, no. He goes, it's about you.
Yeah.
He goes, read this.
Right.
I go, wow, I got it. I'm like, I don't know if I'm about 300 pages. He goes, oh, but you are. So that book, the story of it, the whole premise is that it's not intellect. It's not where you went to school. It's not who you know. It's not all those things. It's fortitude. It's perseverance. It's grit. It's able to stay in the fight.
Well, they did this study on the West Point.
Yeah.
And I found that so fascinating that they were like, wait a minute, they're getting the cream of the crop from these schools, like the best athletes and the best students, and they're like brilliant. But why was 20% of them bailing after the summer?
Right.
And then they said, let's do how you testing how gritty they are. And what that taught me was that, wow, just like you said, I may not have been the smartest. I may not have been this or that, whatever, but I was one of the grittiest. I was one of the grittiest. And I had a positive attitude about it. I'm like, let's go, getting knocked down again. And how did you adapt, or did you not adapt to never being like anyone else? How did you accept that? And how do you help other people accept that they are friggin' weird and different and obsessed, and that's a good thing?
It was odd. Like I liked it. So we moved a lot as a child, like a lot, like 30 times before I got out of high school. So I really had to adapt there, right? You go to new school every few months, 6 months, whatever. So I always told people I'd find one friend, we'd be tight, but I also don't have any attachment issues because I don't attach to things, right? I mean, I've gotten better with that, but because I'm always leaving. So that was a really good friend there, but then I'd leave and that was it. That friend was done. I don't have 30 best friends today. Okay. I have like one. Okay. Or when I tell my kids, I go, because they kind of make fun of me, like about how many friends I don't have. So I tell people, well, if I put my friends on one hand and I lost 3 fingers, all my friends would still fit.
Exactly.
So I adapted by really focusing on what I was doing.
Yeah, but how many comrades do you have?
Yeah, like 2 or 3. I know people. I have lots of people. I have a circle. I have multiple circles, right?
Acquaintances.
Yeah, but the inner circle, again, my trench buddies, it's like 2,
Right.
2, 3. Right.
That's all you need.
And that's just it. It really is. It's okay. I teach my kids that too, and it's interesting because they've kind of developed that way. I've seen now they're late teens and one's in the Marine Corps and everything else now, and I just see how they've done the same thing. Because they understand the quality. Yeah, they understand the quality of friends. They don't, and they could be extroverted, but everyone's not their best friend. So yeah, I think that's really where it comes down to what I did. Because in school, I don't do well in school. I didn't do well in school. I don't test. I was kind of a clown, moved a lot of schools. So there wasn't a lot of incentive to do well. Didn't care. But 2 things that I did. One thing was I hung around the smartest kids in school. I don't know why. I'm talking, the ones who check their GPA every day with every test they take. I never brought a book home. I didn't do homework and do anything. And so the funny story, Kate, so senior year, I'm at my 3rd high school, finishing my 3rd high school, and I got my friends. So me and my buddy Victor, he goes, let's go check our GPA, the smart guys. I'm like, okay, Victor, I'll go with you. So he goes, he gets his, and he's whatever, 4.2 or whatever he's got. And he goes, well, get Richard's, so they pull it up, and the girl takes it, she goes, okay, 1.7. And he goes, no, that's not him. That's a different Rich. You got look for his. And I'm going, Victor, man, that's me, man. He goes, there's no way. I go, dude, have you ever seen me take a book home? Do I ever do homework? I don't test well. I'm like, but he goes, you can't. I go, see, but I'm smart, but I'm not that smart. I'm not book smart thing. I could hang out with all the smart kids and fit right in, but I wasn't. I couldn't. I mean, Scantron test, you fill in the little circles. I just made designs and turned them back in. I mean, I don't take tests, So I got out and started this business doing custom water features. And I said, well, I want to do sculpture. So I teach myself how to do sculpture. Oh, look, I sold everything I made. I do world-class exhibits, like commissions for the aquarium, stuff on Michigan Avenue, Chicago for 6 months. I remember my teachers who all, again, I was kind of a clown, but they basically tell you you're not going anywhere. You have no talent, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I made more on this one commission than they'll probably make in 10 years working, teaching art. I do art. You teach art, I do art. And I never was a starving artist. I got to sell everything I made, and it was awesome. So
you knew you were always different, but I liked it that you chose your tribe and they didn't judge you by not being smart, but you brought value to them.
Right. Yeah. And
what was that?
Well, I think that it was a gift that I didn't understand at the time. So again, I have adaptability, but I also have that kind of fire. Like I got into making movies, right? I like to make movies. I wanted to go into film, and I wrote a lot. That was kind of my creative outlet at the time. And so we put together a World War II adventure film, and we're doing this stuff. We've got the Army and the Navy donating stuff. We're doing all this. We're making miniatures. It's super cool, So I had this drive to do really, really creative things. And so I kind of drew them in. I'm like, let's do this. And they're like, oh, that's really cool. And we're hanging out of cars, going down the highway, filming guys on, just nutty stuff that a 16, 17-year-old person doesn't really do. Now, today, maybe they have all that access, but then it was like Super 8.
No one did that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just, you didn't have access to the stuff, but we're doing it. I'm raising money. having cars doing it. It was World War II stuff, you know, I mean, we're getting all this stuff. And so I think it was that drive, that attraction, my energy, and just wanting to do that stuff. I'm like, we can do that. Let's just do that.
What in agility mindset, one of my pillars is talking about the bridge between confidence and innovation, and how it's such a key aspect. And you pretty much just described my pillar. I'm just going to put the picture of you by it. Because how do you think that most people would be like, why do you put those together? I said, because there's a direct correlation. How would you say that story that you just shared was that sort of?
That's innovation is everything. So if you look at, there's a book called Entrepreneurial DNA by Joe Abraham, and it's called the BOSSI quadrant. So it's BOSI, right? So it's builder, opportunist, specialist, and innovator, right? And you take a test and you see what your primary is, what you are, and then there's a minor, a secondary, right? I'm builder, innovator. I'm a diagonal. And guess what, Kate? It's the most rare type. Go figure.
Those
right?
together.
Yeah, so two together. So I can scale stuff, but I can create cool stuff. I take a really interesting, innovative idea, then I'm able to scale it.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
So, right. So all this stuff that you're kind of an oddball and you're doing this and you're not really getting in any click at all. I was very anti-click with very few friends, but I learned to use it to my advantage and create things, create a business, work for myself, make money, and do all kinds of great things.
How did confidence fit in with that?
So it's an odd thing. It's a hard call because I think I was confident, like I didn't have like worries, but we all have our own insecurities, right? We have trauma from childhood. I had kind of a rough upbringing and everything else, a bunch of stuff. I started boxing, right? So I go in the Marine Corps. Okay. That does a little bit for your confidence. Okay. So you get that. I go in that, get out, I start boxing, right? So I'm like, hey, I want to box. I was working at a bar right out of the Corps, and we had this guy, and his name was Crazy Dave. Big dude, about 6'2", 6'3", maybe 230, solid, 10% body, just a monster. Just plays with 350 on the bench, right? So he goes, well, he's boxing. I go, hey, Dave, man, I want to box, man. Can I come down? He goes, yeah, come on down to the gym. So we go down to the gym. First day in, so I'm okay, gloved up, got my mouthpiece. I get in there and bell rings. I start throwing punches. I can't land a glove on Dave. He's just slipping. He's moving right. I'm like chasing him around. Then he just kind of stops and he's looking at me, and pop, he throws a jab right in my nose, right? Like breaks my nose. Boom. And it's like bleeding. I'm like, okay, I'm okay. Keep working. He's going again. He looks, pop, he throws this left hook and he hits me, and my mouthpiece, I kid you not, Kate, out of my mouth, out of the ring and across the gym. Right. Someone had to run and get it. So I'm like, whoa. And I couldn't shoot for like 3 days. Get done with the round. I'm like, okay. Like, man, I got to blow my nose. Like, no, don't do that. I blow my nose. I get 2 big black eyes, all this stuff, so I got the broken nose. I can't chew. I go back to the bar to work the night thing, right? I'm like the assistant manager there, right? So the general manager sees me, goes, what happened to you? And I go, oh, I was sparring with Dave. He goes, you can't do that. And like, work here, man, look at you. I'm like, oh, I'm going back tomorrow. I'm going back tomorrow. I'm going to get good at this. I mean, that just hit that spark, and I kept going, and my first guy I had to fight had 40 fights. He was in the Army, so I had to fight that. And second one, I fought a Marine. I beat him, and it just kept going. And I went every day, 6 days a week. I'm climbing through those ropes and taking the beating or giving the beating, and being a champion and everything else. It was great. Right. But that's what it is, right? You just get into something, you grab a hold of it, and that inability to do something, because we all started awful with something new, right? Mm-hmm. That's our start place.
100%.
Just suck at it.
Yeah.
But that's life. Everyone has been there. And then you just start getting better. Right. And that's what I did. And just kept going again. I just was grit.
It is, right? They talk about it as like the confidence competency loop, but most people, it's the place that you're building mastery that becomes boring, right? Or you're not getting the payoff, or you don't know, you're getting slammed upside the head in your case, right? And I competed in bikini competitions for 17 years up until last year. So for me, it was about the structure and the discipline of the workout and the diet. That was my everything. It structured my life. I needed it because of the chaos of my experience, right? So it's such a key part of success is stepping back in the ring, just like you did. Like, so brutal to even think about. So
Yeah,
how, if you don't mind sharing, what would you say your favorite failure is? Like, what was either that, or how would you view
oh,
a pivot point in your life personally?
okay. Well, it was pretty big. I'll give you one. So in 08, 09, we had the economic collapse, right? So I had been in business about 20 years at that point, married, 6 little kids, 6 kids under 4 and under. And like on November 5th of 2008, I remember a phone started ringing. It's right after the election stuff. I lost $500,000 in that day. And it just started going off the cliff from there. And it just kept getting worse. I'm like, at the end of the day, I hung up the phone. I'm like, man, it's over. I said, I don't think there's no way this can continue. And sure enough, as the months went by, I'm like, I lost my house, everything's collapsed, I'm losing all. And again, not because of the economy, but because of what I didn't do in my business, right?
Mm.
I'm an artist. I'm out making money. I'm out front. I'm being cool. Who needs to do that stuff? We'll do that later.
Renaissance warrior.
Yeah,
That's
we're going to do that. We're going to do that paperwork
You know what's
stuff
weird?
later.
So it's your name is the RW initials. Like the Renaissance warrior is
That's
Richard
right.
Walsh.
I like it. Let me use that. Let me write that down.
The RW.
Yes, RW.
The one, the only, the RW.
That's
and
it.
it's war room backwards.
That's right.
All right, keep going.
So that's like going. Then I wake up one morning, Kate, and I'm like, I'm thinking about my kids. So right, I'm a provider, I'm a protector. Now I'm like losing everything. I'm like, how did this happen? 20 years, I'm number one. I'm the best what I do. I got this international acclaim on magazines. I'm in all this stuff. I'm this guy. And it was all about me. So that's kind of a problem too. But I woke up and I think, you know what? Just totally think about my kids. Just woke up thinking about this. I come home at night, whatever, they all attack me, right? Crawl me, run on me, jump me. They just love to see me. One day I'm leaving in my truck. My one son is running, chasing my truck down the driveway, crying because I'm leaving. And I keep going. I just look in the rearview mirror, it gets smaller and smaller. I got to go to work. That's what's important. And I realized, I said, if I stay business first, it's everything, right? Keep winning, keep being first, being super competitive, getting the accolades. I said, my children are going to grow up. I'm going to ruin their future. They're going to have failed marriages. They're going to have bad relationships. They might be good at business, but everything else in their life, no balance, no anything. It's going to ruin them. Okay. I walked into the office, said, we're done.
Wow.
We shut down today, went to my yard to my guys, said, guys, we're wrapping things up this week. Not doing this anymore. I have no idea what I'm going to do because this is all I've known for 20 years. This is who I am. But I said, my business, whatever it's going to be and what this one was, will never own me again. I burned all my uniforms, all my clothes. I mean, I burned it in a bonfire, like brand new stuff. I'm like, never again. I sold everything. My welders, I haven't done sculpture in 15 years. I haven't built water features. I am all or nothing. Okay. Now,
that's
my wife wasn't too thrilled about that approach.
Oh, I can imagine.
Because I could have kept stuff and made some money, but I'm like, I have to.
So you torched it. You literally lit the match and burned the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't
You couldn't
do half in, half
piecemeal
out.
it back together where you were, huh?
No, because it's me. It had me.
It had you.
It had me. And you have to, and it's just an odd, that identity in that is like, it's a horrible thing to be, Ronda, what's her name? Ronda Rousey. The UFC fighter.
Oh gosh, yes.
Remember her, right? Remember her?
Oh yes.
That was identity. Her identity was in all of that. And as soon as that was gone, she almost killed herself. I mean, that's just a snowball. You can't have your identity in that.
So so people listening are like, oh my God, that's me right now. Mm-hmm. Right? There are people that are living their life through the identity of how people perceive of them. So what do?
And it's what you have to do is you have to understand because you talked about balance, right? And you said, I don't, and I'm not I hate it when someone comes and tell me you need work-life balance. Okay. And they walk away. I'm like, yeah, you want to give me any pointers on that? Or are you just going to say that?
Because balance leads to mediocrity. It's like you have to be more focused. My point in the book is you have to focus over impact over balance. If you're thinking about balance, that means you're flatlining your life. You're settling for mediocrity.
Right.
There is no such thing. It's called radical prioritization and being very clear on who you're here to impact. 0. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Mediocrity makes me want to vomit.
Totally.
Okay. I mean,
That's I
I can't.
equate balance with mediocrity.
Right. I get you. So let's take it to this a little different level. All right. So and of course I deal with business owners, right? I coach businesses and I help with that kind of stuff. So they all want work-life balance because they start a business and they're working 80 hours a week, 100 hours a week. You kind of have to because there's no one else to help you. You kind of do it. And I get it, 2 years. But then what they always do is now it's 10 years and they've repeated the first 2 years 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
They can't scale anymore. And they're doing it all for their family. They're doing it to get freedom. They're doing it for the money, and they don't get any of that, but they don't get any of that.
No,
but they're gonna, it's about to happen. Okay. It keeps going. Right. So I talk about balance. I go, well, I go, it's the 5 F's. Okay. It's faith, family, finances, fitness, and friendships. Mm-hmm. Okay. There's 5 things to balance, right? You can have a little bit of all that, right? But I tell them, but here's the problem. If you own a business and it's a hot mess and it owns you, you serve it, it doesn't serve you, you can't even begin to approach those 5 F's. Mm-mm. You have to fix that first. Mm-hmm. Get it running, get it working on its own, right? Do that. Focus on the 5% only you can do in the business, and someone else, and automation, delegation, elimination, all that takes care of that. Now we can talk about faith, family, finances, fitness, and friendships. Because without that, everything is on that business, everything. So not only is it there's imbalance, it's one track, and that's not good. But you still have to drive that business. But imagine if now you only had to spend 15 or 20 hours a week max to focus on vision, growth, grabbing the big clients, right? And everything else is being done. That's great. You can still drive because that's your income generator. You got to make a living. Mm-hmm. So that needs a little priority, but you can do the others. You can do the other 5. You can do those things, right? Like I said,
first, before that, you have to radically prioritize an efficient business system.
Right.
By restructuring it, revisioning it, rewiring it. Right?
Exactly. So you have to understand you can't walk away from the business and go play with the 5 F's.
No.
Because you'll have a 6 F, because you have a 6 F, and that'll be failure.
Absolutely.
Do that. So it's just something I just try to bring people into that. So we have to take care of this first, take care of the business. Then we get on the other side. Then they can start working on that. Mm-hmm. Right? That's practicality. That's from all my years of experience, because everyone suffers in the same patterns in their business. That's why I wrote my book. That's why I help all these businesses. I get them out of that. Then they can focus on this other stuff. So we can do it relatively quickly, but then they can balance that out. But to go back to like confidence, when you're talking about, that's another thing. So they're in this business, they're growing a business. Maybe they know what it is. Maybe they don't know what it is. And there's confidence there. And that's all your imposter syndrome and all the other little cliches they've got for people. But it really is trying to understand who you are. And like you said, through mastery can build confidence, but it doesn't necessarily build confidence.
Unless you're applying it to something.
Right. Like what exactly? Like, oh, I'm really good at golf. Okay. Am I confident? No,
you helping.
You're right. You know what I mean? You're chasing a white ball.
That's why I say impact is so key, right? So when you talk about this, because I love one of my favorite books, I have a few that are war centered, but the 33 Strategies of War by Robert Greene is like one of my majors. It's like huge. And he talks about, I use it with my clients talking about the war room. And I'm like, all right, you're your general, you're the general, and you're laying out your maps, and you're in charge of who's going to die in the front line. It's all on you. But if you don't have a plan, if you're not rolling out the plan and you don't have a team of people around you that are going to help you create that plan, people are going to die, and it's going to die on your inefficiency. So you have to look at business, life, relationships from the strategic, tactical, and, and all of it operational, just like in the war. Right. But I believe it all starts in the war room.
I have to agree with you. I mean, it's strategy and tactical, like you just said, that's what we do, right? We have to really look at tactical is today.
Fire that flows up what's today. The actions? But everyone's living in the tactical, which isn't, you're never going to get anywhere.
So what they do is, okay, if fire flares up, someone runs in your office and hey, we got this problem. You go solve the problem for today. But guess what? In 2 weeks, 3 weeks, it flares back up again. Now you get another fire. And they run back and out. Strategy. Tactical, you're going to put out the fire. Then you go, let's see, what caused the fire? oh, this, okay, well, let's create a system that prevents this, and this from happening, fires out forever. And then the next thing, pretty soon you have a fully systemized business. No one's popping their head in the office because you don't even have to be there, right? But they're able to take care of stuff. They understand we built the systems they can operate in. That's the key. And you're like that general, that looking at the whole board. Okay. And I get, you got your out front generals, leading from the front, like that's good too, but you can't always do that because you're in it. That's where they're at when I meet them. They're the general in it. They're on the battlefield.
Well, it's like Patton. I love the story about Patton. And I think I got this from the 33 Strategies of War. And they were like, Patton, he was scared to death. Like people like, oh, Patton, he was such a, I went to high school with his granddaughter. So in the story, it says that Patton was deathly afraid. And so he was at the front line and he wanted to take a step back and he saw the vision in front of him of his legacy, of the people that went before him and his family. And they said, charge, move forward. And that was what the impetus, because you take one step back, you lose. So that's why he put himself on the front line a lot, because he wanted to feel the fear and look through the mist and see his forefathers calling him forward. We have to, at some point in time, know what's happening on the front line, but also understanding there are people that we're putting there to lead the charge in that way, and to have enough courage and our own ability to delegate to be able to run the war from the war room too.
I love in the movie when he's doing the speech in the beginning, he says, I don't want to hear we're holding our positions. We're not holding anything. Let the Hun do that. We are advancing constantly and not interested in holding our positions. It's just that is, I know like every line in that movie. It's awesome.
I've never seen it. Now I'm going to have to.
Oh, it's so good. And another one, the other one of my other favorites, he's like, he's been reprimanded. He's lost the Third Army, all this stuff, and him and this guy's walking around. He's going, God will not permit this to happen. I will be allowed to fulfill my destiny. He's doing that. Stuff like that. We were going to climb Long's Peak in Colorado, huge mountain, big climb, and weather's really bad. At night, it's like, we're not going to be able to go. And I'm standing in this parking lot. We're coming out of dinner. And I said that God will not permit this to happen. We'll be allowed to fulfill our destiny. And those clouds broke at like 2:30 in the morning, man. We're going up that mountain. We're one of like 6 people to get to the top that day. Real wicked conditions, man, but we got up, did it.
That's the best.
It was awesome.
But
awesome.
But you see how inspirational this is? Like, you and I are like the same people.
Right.
But what can we do, Richard? What can we do to fire people up? Because the subtitle of my book is The Agility Mindset, Adapt or Die in a Rapidly Changing World. And I'm not kidding. Because there will be changes and people are not ready. Soft America in particular. What can we do to fire them up, Richard?
Well, here's a thing
as disciples
I've come to realize over a long period of time. First thing you need to understand is you can't motivate the unmotivated. Okay? Only motivated people read motivational stuff. Okay? So it's almost a preaching to the choir, though we may know more. So what we have to do is find the choir and let's work with the choir and let's make those. There's people who are going to be crushed, destroyed, left behind, less than mediocre. They're going to be, because I always say, if you want to reach average, wake up in the morning and you've done it. If you wake up in the morning, you're at the average. It's kind of like being at awful, but you're average. So you only have up to go, right? But if you're not motivated, I can't motivate you. So what we want to do is focus on the motivated and bring like this conversation we're having. This will get the motivated just fired up. This is going to those are our people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm not going to go in and try to help the unmotivated.
No,
the mope who shows up late, leaves early, doesn't want to work, complains all the time. Everybody owes them.
That's not our mission.
Right. I can't do anything.
I had this really cool, I'm actually going to put you in touch with them because I think you guys would have a great time on a podcast. His name is Jay, but he had this great analogy and I described it. I sort of made it, use it a little bit differently, but you have the people that are in the re-evolutionary cycle. So they're in the hamster wheel of life. This is the re-evolution, round and around. 65%, 70% of the population, right? They're all doing life, thinking everything's great. They're comfortable. They're actually kind of caged. But then you have the people that are in the de-evolution, addiction, all those things. They're de-evolving. They're dying, to be honest. So we have all the people in the re-evolutionary cycle that are the therapists and the doctors putting a Band-Aid on the people that are dying. They're in de-evolution. That's probably 30% of the population. And then you have people popping out the other side. Those are the people that are in elevation. They're in evolution. It is really, it's, to be honest, my coach, Brendon Bouchard, says it's 5%. I'd like to say it's 10%. We, as the people that are in evolution, cannot help and serve the people in de-evolution. Our goal is to help the people in our tribe evolve and go greater so that we can serve the highest and best. And it would be a disservice for us to think that we could have that affect that much change here. Our goal is to help the people in the re-evolution see that they're here for more, that we can tap into the longing, the desire, the commitment, the fire to grow, to be more, to see more, and to serve more. That is my calling.
Yeah, that's huge. Is that Jay Islow you're talking about? No, someone different, Jay?
He talked about it and I renamed it, but I actually did a graph.
Oh, that's cool.
Because I think it's really applicable, that it took me, like, because I was brought up Catholic and I'm like, I have to help all the people.
No.
I have to help the masses, right? And I realized I can be in love and compassion and care and deeply, deeply care. I'll never lose my empathic heart. And yet that will be a disservice to my calling that God put me here to be, to inspire and motivate and fire the people that are committed so that we can rise together and lead. We need leaders.
Yeah, we need leaders. That is absolutely lacking. I mean, our country suffers. The biggest problem, I know we didn't address, but we kind of asked this question in the beginning. I think the biggest plague on our country, the US in general, probably the whole world, is fatherlessness.
Is what?
Fatherlessness. So the absence of fathers in the family. That absence is why you have what you have now in men, why you have weak men. And now this is no dig against women, but single moms are trying to raise men. It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
They can't give them what they need. So you've got young men growing up angry because they have all this energy. They're not taught what to do. They don't have anyone to mentor them.
Or to push against.
Exactly.
They need to be pushed against something and not their moms.
Yeah. That is the big plague. So when I tell people, if you want to change things, that's where you start. Commit to that woman. Okay. And stay around or leave her alone. Okay. Don't get in that situation. Don't put yourself in those situations. Right. But if you're going to do it, you got to commit. You have to do this. I mean, it's, or to use a business term, children are always on the payroll, always going to be on the payroll. And that's not just money. That is influence, right? 100%. That's love. That's support. I'll do that just like my dad does. We still talk, we do things, but my kids, I got one in the Marine Corps, the others are home. They're all working, but I'm there for them. Now I've become a counselor in a sense. Like, just bring me your issues and we'll talk about them. You don't have to do what I tell you now. You're 18, you're over. You can do that, but you better listen to some wisdom.
Yeah, as advisorship.
I've been there. I've done way more stupid things than I hope you ever do. Learn from me. The same with my business coaching.
And then the other side of that is, yes, fathers, but then we also have to look at, for me as a woman, and knowing that I always felt like different from other women, that I always was upset when I heard women talking to their husbands as though they were their children. And I was like, what happened to like basic like respect? Like, how are you talking so derogatory to the father? And that was like, for me, I was so offended because I was brought up to be respectful in general. And when people are disrespectful to men or women are disrespectful to men in a public forum, I'm just like, that just upsets me. And I think that, they say, oh, men, they have issues, this and that. But I think women are afraid of intimacy more than men are in a lot of ways, because I don't know. It's just a weird thing. The level of depth of conversation, honest connection that I can have with men compared to the way that honest conversation that I can have with women is so different. It's pretty shocking to me.
Yeah, we definitely are different. Okay. Men and women are different.
Thank God.
aside from contrary belief, but we are, and it's important to know that, like, men, that respect thing you mentioned, that's number one. They want respect. You can't disrespect a man. A son can't disrespect his father, and he's certainly not going to disrespect his mother. I'll tell you that right now. He's going to be sore. Okay.
Right.
And he does that. So we don't allow either one. Respect is a huge thing. Just keep your mouth shut. Say, yes, mom, take care of it, do it. Just get it done. You don't have to like it. You're not here. So I teach my kids, you have obedience and you have honor. Okay. There's two things. I tell you to take the garbage out, you do it. That's obedience. Okay. If you grab that full can of garbage, take it out before I get home and I see you did that, that's honor, because I'd like that to be done. That's honor. We want to honor our mother and father, right? That's the 5th commandment in the Bible.
Yes.
Honor your mother and father through days along upon the earth. Okay, honor. Not, there's obey your mother and father. We get that's part of it too, but the honor is what we're going for. Obedience is the beginning. We need to understand. We need to honor people, right? Like, I don't come on your show and try to take over your show. I honor you because it's your show. We'll go whatever direction you want. We start, we stop. I honor you for that because you put in the work. You're in this position. I'm just a guest. And it's important to understand that. So honor bleeds through everything you do in life, whether you're in the military, whether you're a civilian job, whether you're a father raising a son, a mother raising a daughter, whatever that looks like. Honor has to be taught and understood, because obedience is not enough. It just
isn't. And what is it? It has to become from the place of doing the right thing. Where if you're just doing it, being obedient is just because that's expected. But honor comes from a deep spiritual source of doing the right thing. That's where character is birthed. And that has to be modeled. And I just want to say I'm grateful that you're modeling it, and that you have 6 little warriors that you birthed, that you brought to the world, doing your work, because that's holy work.
It's probably well, people ask, oh, what's your legacy in, business, and you do all this stuff. I'm like, well, it ain't business. It's my family. It's those 6 kids, what they're going to do. That's the only legacy I truly have. I want my business to be great. We're helping 10,000 entrepreneurs and all that great stuff. But my kids, when they can look people in the eye, they can shake their hand, they can have a meaningful conversation, when they can work well, they can achieve, they can get advanced in their work. Even at 16, 17, 18 years old, they understand that. They've got drive, they got vision. That's what I want. That's what I spent. As Psalm 127 says in the Bible, children are like arrows in the hands of a mighty warrior. Okay, I'm that mighty warrior. Blessed the man whose quiver is full of them. But you have to launch them. Arrows don't do anything if they're in a quiver. So you got to train these kids up and see ya. Off you go. Go and carry on, right? So that's, with that mindset, I try to do. Now, I'm not perfect, and my kids aren't perfect or anything like that. But that epiphany I had about me ruining their future, I caught that when my oldest was only 4. And all the rest were, down to 1, so that alone was like, that did it. That was the biggest thing in my life because of that collapse. So the greatest thing that ever happened to me was losing everything.
Yes.
Starting and reprioritizing. And I never complained about it.
Well, you blew it up too. And I think that's the part that's so interesting to me, is that you're like, I cannot rebuild this. This is not to be rebuilt. I need to literally blow it up and start from a complete foundation. And that takes extraordinary courage.
Yeah. So I like to think I'm just too dumb to quit, so I'm just,
there's a little of that in us too.
But there is a lot of that, and it's way more. There's a great saying I learned, and I forget the woman's name, and I got to find it, but she had a great saying. It's all remember the kids today, kids, they don't want to work. She goes, they all want to be discovered, not developed. It's like no one wants to go through the process, and that process is long.
It is long.
They people like to put, you need 10,000 hours and you're a master or whatever, all that. Okay. Again, that's all cool. I guess people want to measure stuff, but it's who cares how it's not tomorrow. It's not because you look good, you're going to be an influencer. Okay. That's not what it is. You know, all the overnight successes only take about 10 years. Right. I
Exactly.
mean, it's work. It's you work. I work. We have to write books. We have to do all this stuff. I have to coach people. I have to go on all these shows. I have to do all this stuff just to get some traction. Right? I don't get
100%.
to go on one podcast and I'm going to be famous. You know,
No.
it's like, it's silly.
If
It's
people
like,
could see the level, I mean, that's the part that's so interesting. I think that by all appearances, it looks probably to you people that know you, Richard, that it's easy for you.
right.
And I laugh. I get the same thing too. It's like, oh, Katie, you make everything look so easy. Like that's what one of my girlfriends says because she just finished med school and she wants to do like start a med spa. And I said, do you have any idea how hard it's going to be? I said, I don't know if you're cut up for entrepreneurship. And she goes, well, you make it look so easy. And I just said, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There you
Yeah.
go. And if
Yeah.
you have no idea, I said, no one can outwork me, boo. Not even you through med school.
Yeah. I
So-
mean, and that's it. I don't think they understand there's, we call the 3 Ds, right? It's discipline, determination, and diligence, right? You got to have those 3 things,
yes.
you know, and then in a large amounts of it.
Mhm.
Okay. Not a little bit of discipline, you know, from your competitions, right? It's all about the discipline. It's about what you eat, what you work out, when you do all
And you know
this
what's
stuff, right?
funny? There's this tool. I don't know if you use it called the Strength Finder, Gallup Strength Finder. It's the best. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's a business management tool, but they're thankfully using it in MBA programs and colleges. But out of the 34 strengths, my last strength, the lowest is discipline.
It's interesting.
It says discipline. I'm like, no, it's ADHD. It's nothing to do with discipline. It's called the only way that I can survive.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
nothing to do with this. I don't even like that word, but I'm learning to love it. But you know,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny when people call us that, and we're like, okay, that's what I am. Okay.
Yeah, it really is. It's the element for success. These are the pieces you have to have in order to succeed. However you want to define them, the action is the same. You know, I have an equation. It's D plus A minus E times C equals results. So it's desire plus action minus excuses times competition equals results, right? So desire, that's your dream, your goal, whatever it is, right? That's cool, but that's pretty much on your pillow. And if you don't take action, that's where it's going to stay. Action's where it's at, right? Imperfect action.
Action's where it's at.
Minus excuses. We don't accept any excuses because that's just a stop block, right? It's just going to stop you. But then times competition, people are like, oh, I go, well, you compete against yourself. You compete against competitors in business. You compete. You're always competing, you know, with
Get
the mirror.
over it.
You compete with the mirror. Every day we're working, we're trying to lose this. I'm trying to hit a little faster still. I keep my skills up. I still hit hard. I want to hit hard and fast. I want to do that, right? Pardon me. And I think the important thing is that equation, I want results. That's what I want. My focus is results. You know, it's not like winning, it's results. That word has a different meaning. So for my clients, I want to get them results, just like you do. I want to get them results. I want to have measurable results so they know, oh, I did this, this, and this. Measured, oh, I'm that much better. Oh, I achieved this and this. Oh, it's all systemized now. Oh, I can go to this next level. That's what we want. We want result after result after result. You know, that builds your fortitude because you have to achieve. You have to achieve. You can't just go,
you have to achieve. It's not bad. It's super good. And I think Tony Robbins said it that people like resist the word competition, but the first 3 letters of competition is COM, which is community, which means you want to be in a community of other people that you can measure your success against. Right. Why is that bad? That's exactly what you want. Why do we resist it?
Yeah, you know what's funny? So my art, right? I'm making all these sculptures and doing this. I'm in Navy Pier and I got these big shows and I'm doing, and people coming through.
That's right. You're in my birth city. I was born in Chicago.
Oh yes, my wife born and raised there. I was in Waukegan. I was in the burbs, North Shore. Yeah. But and I lived in the city too for a bunch of years. So they're going on over it, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. I appreciate that. They like it, and it's great art. But then one time, I'm there, and a guy walks up to me, and he's looking at my stuff. He goes, "This is incredible, man." I go, "Oh, thanks." And he looks at me, and goes, "Do you know a guy named Tom Schultz like that?" And I go, "Yeah." And I look at him, I go, "Are you Richie?" And I don't know why I said that, but I've heard about Richie for like 20 years. He's this incredible welder. He's a real good friend of my best friend. I never met him all this time, right? They fly him all over the world to weld. This guy can weld stuff upside down with a mirror, stainless
Oh
food
my
grade.
God.
Unbelievably gifted welder, right? And I'm like, he goes, this is absolutely, I could never do this. I go, what? Well, dude, I can never do what you do. But the compliment from your peers, just like you talk about competing in the circle, I only did it to get compliments from my peers, people who know it. I mean, it's all great. So there was another show, I had done all this stuff. I'd spent like 4 months making all this stuff for the show. And there's a woman looking at this crazy tree I had made out of steel. And she looked at me and she goes, someone's obsessive compulsive, because I had all these little things welded side by side on this whole thing like bark. And I go, yeah, hi. And she goes, can I talk to you? And then she's from Practical Welding Magazine. Okay. And she goes, I'd love to do an article on you. They did like a 4-page spread on me. I'm just some goof who picked up a torch and a welder and started welding stuff. Now I get this 4-page spread because I did things. But that Practical Welding Magazine, that meant more than the other 80,000 people that just told me how great it was.
I know.
I was like, that is
well, it's
wild.
like it's showing the result that gives you the inner satisfaction because you did the best and you only want to be measured against the excellence meter.
Right.
But I would say to you that most people don't use that as a measure, right? Because that makes them feel insecure, that they want to measure against the half-ass.
Right.
And
yeah. People, it's, if like people like us, and I'm making the assumption, we're looking for a higher bar.
100%.
Okay.
Every day.
We're looking for a higher bar. So that is a hard road for most people to travel because they think we're neurotic and we're nutty and we want to do, and it's like, no, it's not crazy. It's just, we understand
You're
when we've
lazy.
done it. Yeah. But if you've done it, well, what's next? I did that already. I don't want to talk about what I did 25 years ago.
Not
like it's ancient
interested.
history. Like a kid told me that one day. He's like, well, when was the last time you were in the ring? And I'm like, before you were born. He's like, he goes, oh, but you're still, I go, I'm staying dangerous.
Absolutely.
I said, that's something. He goes, oh, it's like you're looking like you're training for a fight. Well, every day, buddy.
Every
day is a fight. I go, that's why I'm here. That's why I do this. And I love the work. I keep my skills sharp. I run a security team. I do things. So it's like, but people are like, they keep asking me if I'm retired. I'm like, I like my saying, I don't know. I'll give Trump credit for saying this. I think he's where I first heard it. He goes, retire. Yeah. Put 4 new tires on, you retire and get going back down the road.
That's
I go, that's
exactly.
me. That's me.
Too. That'll be us till the dying day.
That's it. I said, oh yeah,
Totally.
retirement's at death.
Yeah.
That's when I retire.
Yeah. And that's statistics too. So if you were to, let's just say that you had a billboard, and you probably already had one before anyway, but if you were to see something that someone was going to drive by every day, what would you want that billboard to say?
I'm going to keep it simple. It's going to say 3 things, 3 words. Do hard things. That's all it'll say. It'd be a black billboard with 3 white letters. Do hard things. That's all it'll say.
I love that. Wouldn't you go like high five the person you're with if you saw that? Yeah. I think I heard that Richard Walsh talking about that.
He knows me. Yes.
Because it looks, I can just picture it. So we're going to hold that in affirmation that's going to happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I like that.
We're going to inspire people to do hard things. Well, I just want to say thank you for this super inspirational and motivational conversation. You're the bomb. It's so nice to meet a like-minded warrior on the path. So I don't feel alone, Richard, which is so nice.
We're out there, Kate. We exist. We're one of many. Okay. But we're just all in different places. But, I like to think of us as warriors so I love the Bible, right? Spent a lot of time in the Bible. You got the greatest warriors of all time. You got one man killing 700 people with a sword. He can't release his grip from the sword. It's frozen. So he just slayed 700 people. King David goes and kills a lion with his bare hands and then kills a bear with his. Now, if you can get that in your mind, those are some bad lads. Everyone thinks that Navy SEAL and this are tough dudes. Those were bad lads. You killed a lion with your bare hands. I go, just go to
Well,
the
they
zoo.
just built them different. That was
Right.
survivalship.
But they
You know?
they wipe out 10,000 people. I mean, it's just by hand, up close and personal.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, I'll get a little carried away, but that's warrior.
yeah, that's
It's
a mess.
fearlessness. Okay.
Mhm.
That is, ooh, that's
Yeah.
something else. It's
Well, that's something to aspire to because, you know, that's a fuel for you. I mean, clearly the way you talk about it, it's like, oh, well, I always want to have that fire. I think that when you and I lose that fire, that will be like sayonara.
yeah, it's checkout time. It's checkout
Yeah.
time. That's
It's
what
like,
happens.
nice knowing y'all.
Yep.
Oh
As long
my
as I'm
gosh.
breathing, I'm in the fight. That's all you got to
Me
know.
too.
Anybody, you take a breath, you're in the fight. Just keep going. That's the big thing.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Very grateful for this time.
Well, thank you, Kate. I had a blast. This was a high energy conversation, and I love high energy conversations. They're good.
So you fed it. You were bringing it. And I'll be sure to share all the information that you can find out about Richard's book, his coaching, and I'm really excited to see his artwork personally. So I'm looking forward for links to that also in the show notes. If you have any questions, you can reach out to Richard direct for inspiration, motivation, and to really learn how to take those next steps. But in closing, just remember, do hard things. We're cheering you on.